ولاني واقف أنا ماشي وقلبي شايف التحدي أدواه عندي حتى لو بصعب وقسام واقف أصير أحسن أصير أحسن أصير أحسن
يصير أحسن ولو قالوا جنون كلام الناس يهون مقابلا أكون أصير أحسن فلا قال وقيل يغير بقليل أنا بالي طويل
أصير أحسن ولو قالوا جنون كلام. It's a few minutes after 4 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Salma, Kazi, Wahab sitting in for Zahir Basa this afternoon. And we are into that very highly anticipated chat that we have with our honorable guest today, well-known social media personality and activist. And for her own security, we did not mention before the time that she would be in studio with us today. But when people heard that she was around through her social media, we received a few messages giving us a heads up that, hey, she's around. Let's get her into studio. And thank you to all those that assisted in making it possible. And we are honored to have with us in our studios today, Candice King. She's an entrepreneur, author, and the mom behind South Africa's most followed travel family account on social media. The family is currently based in Thailand, where they have been using their platform of over 3.5 million followers to raise awareness on the genocide unfolding in Palestine and raise funds for Palestinians who have suffered. If you've seen her account on social media, she's got close on to 372,000 followers. South Africa's most followed travel family. The video of hers went viral some time ago with over almost 250,000 shares or likes. Over 70,000 people shared that video when she expressed from her car. The account is called Candy and the Kings. And that video is shared far and wide. Everybody sharing it when she expressed her frustration, her disappointment. We all have reached that point at some point when we've seen those pictures where you just want to almost scream at someone or you want to just shout, are you people seeing what we are seeing? And that's exactly what she did. And that video and many of her other videos were shared far and wide. And we are honored to have her in studio with us today to talk about her life as South Africa's traveling family, but also her personal experience and what has caused or brought about this sense of passion and devotion and towards the Palestinian cause. So Candice King, welcome to Radio Al Ansar. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. It was so spontaneous. I mean, you messaged me yesterday.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm available tomorrow. Let's go.
How's that for fate? That is destiny right there.
It's crazy.
Because I only knew I was doing the show yesterday. Wow. So it's a matter of life meeting at certain points, and you happen to be here. So thank you once again for popping in and visiting us. Tell us a little bit about how you became South Africa's most followed travel family. And what is a travel family? Are you nomads? What is
Well, we started traveling almost 10 years ago, just my husband and I. And I just wanted to be able to go wherever I wanted, and I didn't want to be tied down. So we kind of made ways and learned how we could do that. And there was really no reference of, having an online business, but yeah, that became a thing. And now we have an amazing community of people, and we get to sell products, we get to raise funds for amazing causes, and then obviously promote our own business. So one of the things that we do that actually generates the most income for us, website development. So we run a website development agency, and we are able to undercut the international market because we don't have an office. Our clients are from wherever in the world, and all of our staff are wherever in the world. We can all work online, which is incredible. So that's how we became South Africa's most followed travel family.
Yeah,
exactly.
But do you do a lot of traveling? Where are some of the places that you've been to or enjoyed going to?
Okay, so just since Aurora has been born, she's 15 months. We've been to the Philippines, Macau twice because we have a client there. We've been to Vietnam. No, not Vietnam. Cambodia. Where else have we been? Egypt, of course. South Africa. Back to Thailand multiple times. We're going to be in Laos at the end of the year, and possibly Afghanistan too. But
wow.
Hush.
Okay. So tell us, of course, the most important one, the whole reason that you're here as well, is you did visit Jerusalem, you did visit Palestine at some point. Tell us what made you decide to go there. What would lead you to make that trip?
I was brought up Christian, and reading all those Bible stories about where Jesus had gone to, and really Israel, which is what the world knows it for, is riddled with history and biblical sites. And so that called me there. I wanted to go to the places where Jesus had been to. I wanted to connect with God on a deeper level. And I really, really thought that trip would bring me to God and I would connect with him. But it was not like that at all. We entered the airport and already the oppression from the soldiers, it was just like woof, on us. And by the time, 3 weeks into our trip, it was very, very clear that this is not at all what we have been taught. The conflict is not what we've been taught on the media. And I learned a lot about Arab culture. I learned a lot about Islam as well at the time. And what the thing that shifted the most for me was going from like all Arabs are Muslim and all Muslims are terrorists. It was that was the shift that changed for me, because that's what we were taught. Even in Christianity, it's so funny. I always talk about it now, but like you'll have a pastor or a priest talking about Islam and telling you about Islam and how dangerous it is, but he's never even read the Quran, So like, how can people even speak about other religions if they're not willing to understand or ask questions? Yeah. So we went there and I met a Palestinian priest and I was like, what? You can't go to Jerusalem? He's like, no, because I'm Palestinian. And I was like, no, but you're Christian. It's not, you're allowed to go there. I know you are because you're Christian. He's like, girl, listen, I'm the one who's being oppressed here. Like, I'm not allowed to go to Jerusalem. And it's not because I'm Christian, it's because I'm Palestinian. And that's when it suddenly hit me that this is not a religious war. Mm-hmm. This is a war against racist and just nasty people that need to be stopped. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you had to eventually go there yourself to see that. And I think a lot of people that travel there, somebody that just went recently as well, that came back and said, the only thing that they are asking me is more people need to come. Yes. Because people are so scared to go there now because they think, no, it's dangerous and out of fear of intimidation and harassment. But more people actually need to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go see it for yourself. Really, like go. Get on a plane and go there and you'll like see there are so many patterns that are similar to, well, I wasn't brought up in apartheid. I was 1 year old when it ended. But what we have learned from school, and you go, oh, there's a sign that's just saying like all Palestinians are terrorists. There's like literally signs that say, don't come here because this is dangerous for your life. And you're like, I saw these in like apartheid books. Like, so, yeah.
I can hear the Philistine song playing in the background. It was confusing me. But yeah. So take us through that experience of being there for the first time. What was it like? What did you end up doing there when you actually went? Did you explore? Did you tour? Did you have a guide? What was that like? And when did you go?
So we did not have a budget for any of those fun activities because like it's quite expensive. Israel's very expensive. And so we just went on our own and I had a map, a Google map, and I starred all these places on Google Map where I wanted to go and visit. And we just hired a car or took the bus and we just went around. Another like defining moment was going to one of the last Arabic towns and then everywhere else is just like, okay, so it's just north of Tel Aviv. And yeah, like to get into this town is such a mission and nobody wants to go there. And it's like only one bus every 2 hours. And these are just little forms of oppression. They've like oppressed this community. But yeah, so that was interesting and very frustrating as a traveler to try and get from A to B. And you're like, can you take me back? We stopped a taxi, like a yellow cab. We said, can you take us back to this place? And they're like, oh no, we don't go there. That's like for those people, those like pleb people. And you're like, what? Like, and you can see that the whole town is like super, super dense because they're not allowed to expand because the rest of the land is settler land. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Which year was this that you went?
2016.
Wow. Okay, so fairly recent. Now, you did mention in some of your Instagram posts as well, and I think that would give a lot of perspective into your understanding also of war, of genocide, and you were very open about your family's history with war. Tell us a little bit about that. When you mention World War II, you talk about apartheid and all that, and also to people that aren't watching on Facebook, you are a white South African woman, and I think that's so important. And you were speaking about this off air as well, because you're used to seeing that now. We see it with the ICJ case, and you see it as a people of color representation almost, that they're fighting the cause because they understand apartheid. But for somebody like yourself, you had to learn it, you had to experience it. Like you said, you're going there as a devout Christian, and you saw something completely different to what you were grown or learned throughout. So take us through your family background and how you connected the dots between war, genocide, apartheid, and finally just seeing what is happening right now.
So my grandmother was in Poland during World War II. She was actually in occupied Germany, so they had taken over a part of Poland, and she was almost sent to the gas chambers. She was almost sent to a concentration camp, Auschwitz concentration camp, which is one of the biggest at the time. And she actually escaped that. She escaped the gas chamber because she had these two Nazi soldiers come in, and her parents weren't there. They had left to fetch bread, and they said to her, "Whatever you do, don't trust anybody. Just hide." And she listened to that, and it was obedience that saved her life, because she hid in the cupboard and she watched them through the crack in a cupboard. And these soldiers were speaking German, saying, come out. We are taking you to a nice place to have a hot shower. And they looked under the bed, and they looked behind the doors. They looked everywhere. They searched the place up and down, but they did not open the cupboard. And they were taking people to gas chambers. So she survived this. And the interesting thing is that she was not Jewish. And a lot of the time we get so caught up that World War II was the Holocaust. It was absolutely a Holocaust against Jews, but it was bigger than that. It was World War II. There were other people that were oppressed, and we need to correct the narrative. Please don't quote me on this, but I think it was 26 million Russians who died. 26 million. That's huge. And there was 14 million Chinese who died. Why don't we talk about that? Why do we always speak about the one group of people? It was World War II, and there were 5 million Poles that died. My grandmother could have died. So let's speak about World War II for what it was. And I think very often Zionists use this to guilt the world into supporting their evil regime.
Yeah.
And there are millions of Jews across the globe that say, no, not in our name, not in our name. You're not going to pull me and drag me down. My mother, my father, my grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, and they would be ashamed of what is happening. So my grandmother immigrated to South Africa. I am an immigrant, and I will say that I am not from here. My history is not South African. I have a South African passport, but my grandmother was an immigrant, and that is for every single white South African. Guys, get it straight, please. I'm getting so passionate because I get so frustrated when people don't see the patterns. We're all here because of either colonialism, because of who knows, or immigration or historical events. That's why we are here. And we are very, very grateful to the people who have accepted us and welcomed us here and have not slaughtered us and told us to leave, because we're very, very blessed. So my grandmother was here as an immigrant, and she saw the same patterns of apartheid that what she had seen in World War II. And so she was very, very anti-segregation. She was part of a movement called Black Sash. I believe they are still around today, which is a human rights organization. And she would host these little meetings at her house, and the police would watch her, and she would speak about this. And I was told that just as Black people weren't allowed into white areas, white people weren't allowed into Black areas. So she would dress up as a Black woman and photograph the atrocities committed against them, because apparently people didn't know so much about this. So she was very proactive in her stance. And I guess that gene
passed down.
Yeah, just connected.
Incredible. It's very inspiring. And today, of course, now in this day and age, we have social media.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of it. And people talk, again, what's happening now in Palestine, what's happening to the people of Gaza has been happening for years and for decades. The only difference is now in 2024, it's now being put onto screens. You have people like Motaz, people like Hind, people like Visan, who are now, she's nominated for an Emmy. I mean, who would have even thought?
Yeah.
And only because they are documenting what is happening, whereas 40, 50 years ago, they couldn't do that. They didn't have the Wi-Fi or the internet.
You just had Anne Frank, with her diary.
You didn't. We didn't have that. So now people are getting to see firsthand the babies coming out and the people getting pulled out of the rubble and people getting, like we got to see a Nakba almost live in action, the people being sent down to the south. It was incredible to watch, to see it. And I remember having that conversation with my daughter who's 7 and saying, look, they are being displaced. They are being forced out of their homes, and we will have to tell our children now that story. So how did the power of, with a few minutes left, of course, time just goes, but please explain how social media has become such a powerful tool with your videos going absolutely blowing up over everyone's screens. That is how you're even sitting here today, because you became such a phenomenon. Tell us about that video, firstly, that went so viral, and after that, how you started using your social media to create more awareness.
So the first video that I did on I had spoken about Palestine a few times, but then October 7th happened and everyone was talking about it, and people were just starting to go, oh my gosh, like, actually, this is, whoa, like what Israel is doing is a bit too harsh, And the first video I did was pretty much what I just explained now, the patterns. And I was so anxious. I was thinking about it for maybe about a week. I was like, I'm so scared to actually post this because of the backlash. I know I'm going to get unfollowed. I know that like my community is going to just cut me out. I know this, but I couldn't sleep. My conscience was not clean. And I spoke to my husband about it. He was like, oh, this is going to really shift our entire business. It's going to shift where our focus from here on. It literally took me about a week to put it together, and I did it. And I'm so happy I did, because as soon as I hit that publish button, I just felt like I can keep going, and then one other big creator picked that up and really thanked me for it. Yeah. So that was the start, and then the ball kept rolling.
It did keep rolling, but there was good and negative. There was positive and negative repercussions to that video.
Yes, there was, but definitely more positive, I have to say. Obviously I've been, so many wonderful people have contacted me, but also I've learned a lot about Islam. I've learned a lot about Arabs, and that is in itself worth every single cent I could ever put my money down on or ever receive, anything. And just learning and being able to tell my daughter that, just go and learn for yourself. Don't learn about another religion through someone who hasn't studied it, or who, someone who hasn't preached it. Rather go and learn from someone. And we've got so many more Muslim friends where I can sit and just ask questions and I don't feel ashamed. I'm like, I've never been in a place where I can ask questions. So I'm sorry if I sound silly or dumb, but thank you for answering these tough questions for me. And I went on a tangent, but I'm just
but that's an amazing point to actually make, because you did post about that as well on your socials, where you said it's not a religious war.
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah. And do you find yourself having to explain that to friends, to family? Do people ask you questions? Tell us about that, the learning or that the questions that you're being asked.
So a lot of the times they bring up the end times, and they're like, this has to happen. This is God's plan. And I'm like, well, then I'm sorry, but I refuse to serve a God who supports genocide, because that sure as hell doesn't sound like almighty to me. That really sounds like some kind of demon, whatever. I don't want to serve that God. And if that's the God that you guys believe in, well, help me out. So often they bring up the end times, and Jews are God's chosen people, but also the Bible doesn't say that. It says that all people are chosen. And then lots of people just say, but what about Hamas? They all voted Hamas in, therefore the whole of Palestine are terrorists. And I'm like, okay, because like what 40% of the country voted for ANC, for example, does it mean we all like, yeah? So it's having
it's the simple arguments that everyone's making that you're now having to, but that's a difficult position to be in, because now you're somebody that's learning about it yourself, and now everyone's expecting you to all of a sudden have all the answers.
Yeah, someone said to me on. This is so crazy. Someone said to me on Instagram, yes, but in Arabic, they don't have the letter P. So therefore, Palestine doesn't exist. And I was like, what? Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Afrikaans doesn't have the letter K. Therefore, cat doesn't exist. Cat. How do you say it in Afrikaans?
Cat.
There you go. Sorry, I've forgotten. Yeah. So let's just yeah. Oh, wow, crazy.
But what is your future plans now? Now that you have this platform, you have the following, you have an influence, you are raising funds in different ways. But what is your ultimate goal for the next few months? It will soon be a year that this has happened. A year. We are now at that 11th month mark almost. What would be your message to South Africans and perhaps your plans or hope for the future?
So, well, obviously we want not just a ceasefire. That's the bare minimum. Like, I would really love the genocide to stop. Like, okay, yeah, obviously. But we want Palestine free. We want Palestinians to be able to return home to Palestine, not Israel. We want Palestine back. We want, I always say this word wrong and my husband laughs, repatriation. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. For Palestinians, for the emotional, mental, physical, psychological, socio damages that has been done, all of it, environmental. That's what we want. That's the goal at the end of the day. And our plans to get there, hopefully just be part. Actually, a long time ago. I hope I've got some time. But I was sleeping, and then I had this like dream of this huge, nasty monster. And all these ants just got together and started like crawling over this monster. And the monster couldn't like shake the ants off. And everyone was just, all the ants were just like, and the ants overthrew this monster. And when I woke up, I was like, I know what this is. This is like, we can't beat the media. We can't beat BBC and CNN and all those liars. But we can all together, like all these little journalists from Gaza, from everywhere, like all these people on social media, we like little
powerful
ants.
Force.
We can definitely,
the little
and
ants.
we have made a shift. So that's the goal, to just stick together, work together, and we all have different tactics, and that's fine. If you don't agree with someone's tactic, they're still part of the team. We all in the Palestinian community, like, let's keep this together and take down the monster.
Candice, Candy and the Kings, thank you so much for joining us today in studio. It's been wonderful meeting you, and we wish you well over the remaining stay in Durban. You're going to find a lot of your pro-Palestine watermelons here, and I'm sure they're going to look forward to
marches.
They will definitely plan one now that they know you in town.
Message me. I want to join.
We'll put you in touch with the right people, and we'll definitely plan something for you in the near future. But it's been wonderful. Thank you for making your first public appearance on Radio Al Ansar. But it's been wonderful speaking to you. We learned so much. It's been an absolute joy talking to you. Thank you so much, and we wish you well.
Cheers.
I've got to hand over to the rest of the afternoon jam team is standing by to take over. Fahim, Jamadar and Ted. It's been wonderful being in your company. I'll speak to you again soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.